Have you ever stopped to think why so many men today prefer to be alone? It's not for lack of options, not because they gave up on love. It's because they've learned the hard way that being too good comes at a high price. In a world where loyalty is no longer valued and kindness has become weakness, many have simply decided to protect themselves. Modern man is not running away from love. He is running away from emotional exhaustion, empty promises and games that turn feelings into risks. But what exactly made this generation change so much? Stay until the end, because the answer could change the way you understand your own relationships. And if you want to continue discovering the truths that no one tells you about human behavior, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything, and let's go. The price of being a good man. From a young age, he was told that he needed to be kind, respectful, and always be there for others. They said that women value a man who listens, who understands, who gives himself completely, and he believed it. He opened his heart, helped, forgave, insisted, believing that true love was made only of effort and patience. But what did he get in return? Silence when I most needed to be heard, coldness when I wanted affection the most, and in many cases, a betrayal that broke something inside him. It was then that he realized a hard truth. When kindness has no limits, the world begins to treat it as weakness, and the more he tried to be good, the more people tested how far he could go, until one day, the heart simply got tired of being ignored, tired of trying to fix what the other person broke without blame. And when this happens, the man stops offering the best of himself. Not because he has become cold, but because he has learned to protect himself. He closes his heart, not for lack of love, but for fear of repeating the pain he once felt. But there's something even deeper to this story, something that explains why so many good men end up on the sidelines. And it all starts with what women today have come to truly value. Have you ever considered yourself a good man and been left aside? Leave a comment. The inversion of feminine values. There was a time when what most enchanted a woman was respect. A polite, thoughtful, faithful man. That was the kind that made hearts race. But things have changed. Today, many are attracted not by calm, but by confusion. Not for the affection, but for the challenge. Not because of the man who is present, but because he is unpredictable, distant, and even a little arrogant. Good men began to realize this painfully. They did everything right. They paid attention. They showed interest. They put in the effort. But they were still left out. And, to make matters worse, they saw those who treated women coldly being desired, praised, and pursued. That's when the tables turned. Over time, many began to see love as something dangerous, because every attempt to love seemed like a blow to peace itself. They began to associate relationships not with joy, but with loss. Loss of time, loss of energy, loss of dignity. And when this happens, something changes within the man. He stops seeking love as salvation and begins to see detachment as protection. But it is precisely there that a new version of the modern man is born. The detached one. The one who no longer feels afraid of losing anyone, because he has learned the value of not losing himself for someone. And it is in this transformation that the next secret lies. What really happens when a man decides he no longer needs love to feel complete? Do you consider yourself a detached man? If so, just like this video to find out how many men like that we have here. The man who got tired of playing the game. He's already realized that modern love is no longer about feeling. It's about fighting. Today, it seems like no one really wants to connect. The conversations turned into tests, the messages, power struggles, and feelings. A silent game to see who cares less. He tried to be sincere. He tried to show affection, be transparent, do things the right way. But in the end, he discovered that in this new, emotional battlefield, those who are pure usually get hurt. Those who feel too much are seen as weak. Whoever demonstrates it loses the mystery. And those who love intensely end up being used as a stepping stone for someone's ego. That's when many men started giving up on the game. Not out of spite, but out of exhaustion. They prefer silence to drama, peace to confusion, solitude to humiliation disguised as love. And little by little, the emptiness that once hurt began to become comfort. They discovered that living alone is not a punishment. It is freedom. Because when a man learns to be at peace with himself, he no longer needs to prove anything to anyone. But there is something even deeper than that. A silent, almost invisible reason that makes so many men turn their backs on love. even when there is still a part of them that believes in it. Loss of trust, when a man is betrayed, not just in body, but in soul. Something changes forever. He may even forgive, he may even move on, but he will never see love the same way again. Because the real trauma is not losing someone. It is losing the feeling of security, peace, surrender. Before, he believed that love was a shelter. Today, he understands that it could be a trap. Every beautiful word sounds like a rehearsal. Every gesture of affection is accompanied by a "until when," and little by little, he stops listening to what they say and starts observing what they do. Trust, which was once natural, becomes something that needs to be earned inch by inch. And when the heart is on alert all the time, love ceases to be light. It becomes a struggle between the desire to surrender and the fear of getting hurt again. That's why so many men simply give up. Not because they no longer want to love, but because they understand that, today, trusting is too high a risk, and the result is one of the darkest paradoxes of our time. A world full of connections, messages, encounters, and yet empty of real emotion. But what happens when an entire generation learns to protect itself from love? This is the next chapter, and perhaps the scariest of all. The new era of lonely men. More and more men are making a silent choice to simply walk away. Not out of resentment, not out of pride, but out of weariness. They're tired of fighting for attention, competing for space, proving their worth in a game where the rules change all the time. Today, many prefer silence to the constant need to explain themselves. They prefer the calm of a peaceful mind to the whirlwind of emotions of an unstable relationship. The curious thing is that the further these men move away, the more interesting they seem. Scarcity creates value, tranquility becomes attractive. And the man who was previously ignored, for being too still now, arouses curiosity precisely because he is not as available as the others. But behind this new power lies something sad, a high price being paid in silence. Because when everyone learns to protect themselves, no one gives in anymore. When everyone plays to not lose, no one plays to love. And love, which was once about connection, became all about control. But what happens when this loneliness stops being a choice and starts becoming the only possible path? This is where the darker side of this new masculine era begins. 6. The invisible price of emotional freedom. At first, this freedom seemed like a victory. The man who doesn't depend on anyone, who doesn't get shaken, who doesn't need to prove anything to any woman. He seemed to have finally won the game. But over time, he realizes that there is a hidden cost to this independence. Emptiness. He won the peace, but lost the exchange. He learned to control his emotions, but he unlearned how to feel. Today, he sleeps peacefully, but sometimes he wakes up with that silent feeling that something essential has been left behind. True connection. Because deep down, every man who once truly loved still harbors within himself the desire to be understood, to be seen, to be accepted without having to feign strength all the time. But the modern world offers no room for male vulnerability. Here, showing feelings is risking respect, and that's why so many men smile on the outside but are emotionally drained on the inside, balancing between the pride of being free and the fear of never being able to let go again. And the most disturbing thing is that this emotional freedom that seemed like protection may be becoming a new prison. But what happens when an entire generation of strong men discovers that being invulnerable is also a form of loneliness? This is where the story changes tone, and the real male dilemma begins. Men haven't stopped loving. They've just stopped believing that love is still worth the price paid for it. After so many disappointments, they understood that loving without reciprocity is like investing in something that only brings losses. And yes, part of this transformation came from modern relationships themselves, when emotion became more important than respect, and entertainment took the place of loyalty. Today, we live in an era of high walls and locked hearts. Men who once sought connection now seek peace. Men who once needed to be chosen now prefer to choose themselves. And the most interesting thing is that when a man learns to be okay alone, he becomes immune to manipulation, because someone who is at peace cannot be controlled by the fear of loneliness. But that's just the beginning. In the next video, I'll show you how these emotionally awakened men are changing the game, and, most importantly, why so many women simply don't know how to deal with them.